Today, really staying connected with your customers is vital for your service department. And, today's breakout session will provide you with ways to connect with your customers, throughout the ownership life cycle, building trust and creating opportunities for additional parts and service revenue. So my name's Kim Saylor, and I'm the Director of Product Marketing here at CDK for our Fixed Operations Solutions. We also have our Senior Director of Product Management, Jaya Dameja. And we also have a couple guests with us today. So from Hoffman Ford in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, we have Mary Pratt Lockley. And from Keating Nissan in Conroe, Texas, we have Sean Smith. So today's objectives for the breakout is to review with you some of our latest findings from a service shopper study that we recently completed, and also to show you how we utilize our research and insight to guide and align our product strategy, and to share some of the latest enhancements of CDK service. So if you were able to sit through the keynote presentation, you heard that a study conducted by our research and insight team found that 74% of customers would return to a dealership for service after going to an aftermarket service shop, which, that's great news. And it's very encouraging for dealers, as it suggests that there's a really good potential to win those customers back. So shoppers that were having their car serviced someplace other than a dealership had concerns about a dealership being able to provide, trustworthy service. That's really what we heard a lot during that shopper study, and offer a fair price. As a matter of fact, the same study found that 55% of the service shoppers say they don't trust dealerships. And what they cited were things like, dealers frequently try to upsell unrequired services, or at least that's how they felt, or dealers don't keep them informed or updated during the service process. So think about one of the things that we love about Amazon, besides it being, so easy to shop. They keep us updated from the time we order whatever it is that we're buying, until it lands on our doorstep. So what do dealers need to do to, focus and offer their customers a superior experience? It really comes down to trust and transparency, which pretty much, go hand in hand. Customers want to do business with a dealer that they can trust, that demonstrates superior knowledge of their vehicle, communicates clearly on what services are needed and why it's needed. And, transparency really is the key ingredient for building trust. And it needs to be evident throughout the entire service workflow. So if you guys watched that keynote earlier, they couldn't have talked. It felt like they were, talking about what we're going to be talking about, So Sam, who's the CEO of Ziegler, he was part of the roundtable. He specifically said, and I took notes, so I got to look at my notes, but customers want trust through transparency. And he said, and it's up to the dealership to deliver communication utilizing technology to build that trust. So what he said aligns completely with what we're going to talk about today. So let's talk about some areas where you can focus on building trust through transparency. So one place that you have an opportunity to build trust through transparency, both when scheduling an appointment and when the customer's in the lane, is through connected vehicle data. So what is connected vehicle? If you don't know, really the easiest way to think of connected vehicle is the same way that you think of your smartphone or any digital device for that matter, that is connected to the internet all the time. So many cars already have over 50 sensors today. And these sensors are not only communicating with the car software, but they can wirelessly share data with the OEMs, with traffic infrastructure, mobile devices, smart home technology. And, the connectivity just continues to grow. And when these sensors work with connected vehicle, your customers gain immediate transparency into their car with things such as health status and alerts. And transparency is really that first part of building the trust. So by displaying the vehicle health alerts with the consumer during their online scheduling, and then again in the lane, it promotes that consistency and builds that trust, because when your online scheduler and your advisor both recommend the identical information that's coming directly from the vehicle, it helps eliminate that issue that we heard from our service shopper study that, dealers frequently try to upsell unrequired service. Now it's the car telling them, and the advisor's just also repeating exactly what they saw. So this type of information can not only provide a better experience for your customer, but it can also help dealership provide better and faster service as this connected vehicle data continues to grow. As a matter of fact, you might have heard Mahesh say at the keynote, 90% of our respondents believe that their service experience will improve with connected car features. So let's take a look at how our connected vehicle feature can work for you, and your customers. So first, connected vehicle, as I talked about, it'll provide real-time vehicle health status and alerts. And depending on the OEM, it can provide other pieces of information as well. So let me show you really quickly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to share another screen here so that you guys can see connected vehicle. Again, now it's from the consumer. So I am the consumer. I'm going in and I'm scheduling an appointment online. I'm putting my phone number in. That's going to go find all of the vehicles that I own. And what it's going to do when there's connected vehicle data is it immediately pulls that data. So what you can see here, you see that little icon there for connected vehicle. It's telling me that there's 6 alerts out there on my vehicle. You might also notice it pulls mileage, distance to empty, oil life. Again, depending on the OEM, the data that is pulled and displayed might be different. So I'm going to go ahead and select that vehicle, go ahead next, pick what team, if I offer teams, and then it displays all the different alerts. Again, depending on the OEM, some OEMs have a set to automatically add, if there's a red alert out there, automatically add complaint onto the appointment scheduler. So again, depending on the OEM, your OEM, how they want it to display, it might look a little different. But you can see, there's more detail about the alert. And then in this case, this is a Ford. Ford happens to have their recalls separately. So you can see there's additional recalls. Some OEMs have that recall as part of that connected vehicle data. I went ahead and added those 2 recall items. Going to go ahead and pick my transportation type here. Pick a date and time. I could choose an advisor if I wanted. How do I want to be contacted? And then I can go ahead and say, book my appointment. And once the appointment's booked, just like any other appointment, whether you have connected vehicle or not, but you can see still on this confirmation page, I can see the connected vehicle information, but I also get that text and, I have a link from that text to modify my appointment. So let me go ahead, close this out. So, again, depending on the OEM, as I mentioned, we could have the automatically add a service operation. It can automatically add recalls if there's recalls and, let's say looking at the parts inventory. But we also have connected vehicles, I mentioned, for the advisor. So let me show you how that's going to work. So now the customer's coming into the lane. I'm the advisor. I'm greeting them with a tablet. So there's that appointment that we just created for Clint. And once it pulls the connected vehicle data, I'm going to go ahead and pause here just to point out some things. You'll notice it automatically pulls the mileage, and it also pulls and shows me those alerts out there. So in this case, again, I have the different alerts, and I'm going to be able to click on View Health Alerts here. Again, depending on the OEM, things are a little bit different. Like we have one OEM that instead of launching to this page, they want us to launch directly to the page that I'm going to show you, which is the connected vehicle page. So they want us to launch directly to this page and show the advisor immediately any alerts that are out there. Now, as an advisor, I also have the ability to add an operation from the connected vehicle. So I could click on, the detail, click on add opcode or touch, I should say. I'm not clicking with my iPad. I can search my dealer defined operations, my service pricing operations, and add that right onto my repair or onto my appointment, or sorry, repair order in this case. And then at this point, what you can see is I have those 2 operations that were done, which were the recalls that the consumer added when they were scheduling their appointment. And then I have a third operation, and it has this little icon, if you can see where my mouse is, that's set showing that it's coming over from the connected vehicle data. So let me go ahead and close this. So just a little bit of information about connected vehicle. We're currently in general release for Ford and Lincoln. We're piloting Toyota, Lexus, and BMW as we speak, and we're getting ready to launch Hyundai Canada. So, again, like I said, some of the OEMs, the data is different, depending on what their connected vehicle data provides, it's different, along with, how they want it to react. They wanted something to automatically add. They might want us to automatically launch into something as well. So now I'm going to ask our first guest to take herself off mute while I introduce her. And this is Mary Pratt-Lockley. She's the Assistant General Manager of Hoffman Ford. So welcome, Mary, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. So your Ford store has been utilizing connected vehicle. So I was hoping that you can share with us, what are some of the benefits that your dealership is seeing, both your employees as well as, the value that your customers are experiencing.
Absolutely. So when we first were presented kind of connected vehicle data and it became something that Ford was really interested in utilizing in each store, we sat down and we kind of asked ourselves, how can we utilize this to make doing business with us easier? I mean, that was really what it came down to, which piggybacks off your trust and transparency conversation. So how can we use that data to add value to our customers? So we started with the beginning process, and you kind of already touched on that, which was scheduling appointments online. So we changed kind of our, the entire old school marketing theme, which is give us a call to schedule an appointment, to you can now schedule an appointment online. And, our customers that have been doing business with us for a long time started to really pick up on that. And we actually saw an increase in appointments being scheduled online monthly. We were at about 10%. Now we're running at about between 30 and 35% monthly of our appointments are scheduled online. And so then it kind of begins there, and then it goes to our service BDC, because we actually have someone that then calls to confirm those appointments. So she's able to, if the customer is not picking up on that connected vehicle data and scheduling that information into the appointment, she is then using that information when she calls the customer to say, hey, Mrs. Smith, we noticed that your car is due for an oil change, or it looks like you had a few alerts. Can we talk about them? Is that something you want us to look at today? And, at first we kind of talked about the fact that we thought customers might be a little weary of the connected vehicle data because it really is insight into their life and their driving habits, but the customers have just embraced it. And we've not only seen an increase in just sales in general, online appointments, decline services from the past, which now used to be a big issue in our store. We now are seeing where that is not an issue, because it's almost like there's justification for the things that the advisors are now recommending. Not that there needed to be justification, but the customer is seeing it on their end too. So it kind of, it just flows better. And every department on our service side, from the service BDC, we actually have lane valets that are checking in customers, that they're utilizing it to recommend things to the customer or to discuss things with the customer before they even get to the advisor. And then the advisor is obviously using that data to discuss upsells with the customer right in front of them. And now we are seeing that our techs are catching on, and they're actually using it on their end as well. So we've been very successful implementing it around the bend in every department on this side. On the other side of that, from a customer side, is, it provides value. They're able to now have some insight into their vehicle that they never had before. They kind of just created a relationship and trusted that relationship with their dealer. Not a bad thing, obviously, that's what we still want, but now they're able to look and say, you know what, you're right. I am due for an oil change, or, my vehicle is saying that I have a low tire. Can you take a look at that? Or, it's taking the guesswork out of it for customers, and they really appreciate that. So we have just seen it be a positive experience all around for every customer that's walking in our door. And honestly, it's making life easier on the service side for all of our employees that as we utilize it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it does sound like your customers are seeing that, it's making them believe, where, we heard from our service shopper study that, one of their fears is that advisors were telling them something that wasn't needed, but It's eliminating that fear, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, because they can now verify that they need those services or there's something wrong, or the amount of people that come up to the desk and say, I got these alerts, and they'll just pull out their phone and they're showing us. And we're like, we already have access to that, but let's talk about what your vehicle's doing when you're getting that alert. And it's really just, it's opening up that conversation and really, again, taking some of the guesswork out of it, making it easier to diagnose some of these issues that they're having.
That's awesome. And that's really something you as a dealership can provide that, an aftermarket cannot provide. So
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So they're looking at you as a trusted advisor.
Correct. Yeah. And it is working in our favor. I mean, we really were hesitant at first. We have a much older customer base here in Pennsylvania. We were a little hesitant, but we have taken the time to educate our customers on it and what it means for them and the value in it. And they're seeing that. So, well,
I would just say congratulations, because if you have an older customer base and you're also doing that well on online appointment scheduling, you guys are doing a great job. Well, Barry, thank you so much. I really appreciate you jumping on and talking to us about all that insight with connected vehicle. I'm going to go ahead and jump on to our next solution that we want to talk about. And so our research has shown us that another thing that's important to the customer is keeping them informed throughout their service experience with real-time status updates, or even better yet, send them a link allowing them to, really check for themselves on their smartphone, at their convenience. So, consumers are really coming to expect this type of experience. I mentioned earlier, in reference to purchases through Amazon, but even the place every day I get a protein shake from the same place, it's $8. They give me that experience. So as a consumer, we're kind of expecting that status, of whatever our shopping is happening. So, once your customer drops their vehicle off, you can send them a text with an update on the service status or a link allowing them to track it automatically. So it not only provides a better service experience for your customer, but it's also going to help eliminate those phone calls into your service department, requesting the status. According to the 2022 JD Power CSI study, 42% of customers prefer a text to provide them a status of the vehicle while it's being for service. So let's take a look and see how it works. So give me just a minute. And so basically, when a repair order gets created, we can now automatically send them a welcome text. So send them a welcome text, and then you'll notice that there's a link on that text. And when the customer clicks on the link, it's going to launch them into our vehicle tracker. And so what you're going to see now is, in this case, we just created the RO, so we have a welcome to Toyota Motors. That's what I changed mine to. So these different statuses can be updated. You can modify them so that you can have them, basically say what you want them to say, or default back to the standard, which in this case would just say welcome. So, at any time, I can actually click on that link now and I can see the status of this repair order. And so let me show you, what it's going to look like for the advisor. So once the RO gets generated, like I said, the welcome text goes out. We can send that to the customer and they get the link. But let me show you what the advisor will be able to do. So now, the RO is created. Now the technician is going to start the inspection process. You can see here on my dashboard that I have the icon, and it gives me the status as I hover my mouse over the icon. So right now it's at a welcome status. So I want to jump into that RO, and I'm now going to have a new section here called Vehicle Tracker. When I click on it, again, I've got the drop down. Again, those can be customized. I can change the status. And then once I do that, I can either send the customer manually a text or an email, or I can say the tracker status has been sent. So in my case, I have it set to automatically update. And then you'll also notice now on my dashboard that the status icon has changed as well. So now the advisor can update the status. You can decide if you want those automatic alerts to go out, or if you prefer them to be sent manually. So If I hit it manually instead of it automatically, another box would have popped open and basically asking me if I want to send an alert to the customer. So keep in mind, if the customer clicks on the link, they'll always be able to see the latest status you have on the RO, regardless if you sent them another text. So if I only send them a welcome text, but as I'm going through and I'm changing the status, they can still click on that link, even though I maybe never send them another text, and they can see the status of it. So really, that part's up to you. We have a dealer advisory board for CDK service, and we literally had 2 people on it that had the total opposite. One wants a text to be sent out every time they change to the status. The other one's like, absolutely not. I want to control it and I want to send it. So, again, it's up to you whether or not you want that to happen automatically or not. So, again, now that you've updated the status, the customer may or may not have received another text. So let me show you what they're going to see now. So I may have sent them a text, or it may be the original text, but when I click on the link, now it's going to launch me into that vehicle tracker again. And now my status will have changed to, being inspected, which is what I just did as an advisor. So what does this do for my dealership and for the customer? Obviously it's a better experience for the customer, but it can also reduce unnecessary phone calls. How many phone calls do you get every day asking for the status of the vehicle? As I mentioned, we can customize the description of each step of the way. And it can also help streamline the delivery process when when the vehicle's ready. So the pickup process, by letting the customer know that their vehicle's ready. As a matter of fact, 84% of customers said that they would visit a dealership for service if they offered this real-time update. Okay, there we go. Sorry, my PowerPoint would not switch. So, again, if you guys listen to the keynote, they already talked about that, talked about what I'm going to talk about here. So inventory shortages was the biggest challenge dealerships faced in the last couple of years, but staffing shortages is and continues to be the second most difficult challenge. To be honest, I can't remember there not being a technician shortage in all my years in the fixed op space, and there's too many for me to share, but it seems to be growing at an alarming rate. According to Tech Force Foundation, their 2021 study showed that there's a need for 85,000 net new automotive technicians each year. Now, a big portion of that is through retirement or technicians leaving the field, but that's a huge number. So really, any tool that can help your newly hired technicians perform closer to a highly experienced technician has great value. And that's one of the things that Predictive Service, which is what I'm going to talk about, can do for you. Mahesh touched on it during his presentation, but let's show how it can work for your dealership. So Predictive Service looks at historical data from millions of repair records. And what it does is it applies advanced analytics and machine learning to help identify components that have a high probability of failure for the specific year, make, model, mileage car that's in your service bay. So Predictive Service, it proactively predicts potential service failures during the inspection workflow. So again, even your newer techs can attain greater productivity by having this data at their fingertips, so they can perform an inspection at the highest level and provide a better service experience for your customers. So let me show you what it looks like for the technician. Okay, so I'm going to, I'm being a technician at this point. I'm on my RO dashboard. I'm going to go into one of my repair orders here that I'm doing the inspection on, and I'm just going to jump over to inspection. And so I'm going to pause here for a second. So if there's no predictive service, if you have predictive service turned on and it doesn't find anything to predict, your inspection comes up just like it does today, which is what I have on my screen. However, if it finds something to predict for this particular year, make, and model, what you see is at the top of my inspection, it just adds those additional inspection points. So in this case, there's 2 items that it's recommending. One has a high probability of failure. The other one has a medium probability of failure on this particular car, in this case, the 2019 Toyota Tundra at 75,000 miles. So this is a high probability. And at this point, it works just like any other inspection point. I can go in, I inspect it just like I would any other point. If I fail it, it launches me into adding an additional service recommendation. Now, one difference is because we're using predictive service and we're using service pricing data, it knows exactly what the op code is that needs to be replaced, in this case. So in this case, this cleaning and throttle body service is what needs to be done. I can add that. I can see additional information. So I can see all the pricing over here to the right. Down here at the bottom, I have all the parts that are needed. Do we have those in stock? That's a great tool. It eliminates me having to go over to the parts department to check on whether or not the parts are in stock. I can now add this as an additional service recommendation. So when the advisor reaches out to the customer, this is one of the items that it's going to be recommended. Then I can go ahead and finish with my inspection. I can go ahead and, in this case, inspect the other predictive service item, and then go ahead through the rest of my inspection. So it is great because it puts it right into the technician workflow. It's not, I'm not looking someplace else. It just adds the items right at the top of the workflow. So let me go ahead and close that out. So, we've looked at it, as a technician and what it looks like for technicians, but instead of you guys listening to me talk about how predictive service can help your service department, let's hear from someone who's using it in their service department. So I'm going to go ahead and now invite our second guest to take himself off mute while I introduce him. So this is Sean Smith. He's the Fixed Ops Director for Keating Nissan. Welcome, Sean, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So your Nissan store has been utilizing predictive service. So I'm just going to ask you to tell us a little bit about the benefits that your service department has experienced since you've started utilizing predictive service.
Yeah, so the first day we kicked it off, we sold probably a $3,000 ticket. And this was one of my technicians that's been with Nissan since the Datsun days that wasn't even aware that that was a common item. Because there's so many stores all over the nation, they see different things that we don't see. Happen to be control arms on a vehicle that when it's in the air, physically everything looks good. So those extra steps you got to do to check them. So if he didn't know that that was a common issue on those, he would have just, flew through the multi-point and missed it. But he ended up, catching it and ended up selling the whole job. So, and we've had a couple instances, like that where they've found items that normally wouldn't have probably even been looked at with the normal multi-point. So it's worked out really good.
So have you noticed, and this is something we heard from some of our pilot stores, and I know you've gone on more recently, so you may not have experienced it, but we heard from some of our pilots, again, that it was really helping their new techs because, you just talked about an experienced tech not realizing it. Are you seeing some of your new techs being able to utilize this data as well?
Yeah, a lot of my express techs have found things on there because of the items on there, and a lot of my B techs that aren't a master tech, but they've got enough technical ability that they can check those items that are listed on there. So yeah, it's worked out really good for the whole shop, and it's good for the advisor. It just goes right to the RO once they sell it, so it's, nothing to them, but anything ordinary than, the preventive, recommended items that the technician's finding anyway. So to them, it's just a normal process. So there wasn't like a grace period or anything that they had to get adjusted to. I mean, it just went right into the existing system and basically flawless.
Awesome. Well, Sean, I really appreciate you jumping on here and sharing your use of predictive service. So, we've been talking about the increasing expectations and, really customers wanting an easy, fast access to information and how that can help you build trust, through transparency. But we have a new service offering that we've built to help meet these needs. And, and I want to talk a little bit about that. So as I said, customer expectations are increasing. They want faster, easier ways to access information. They also want choice of communication based on their preference. And they want these interactions to be low friction, without repeating information throughout the journey. I don't want to have to give you my name and everything, multiple times. And they want to be able to do this anytime throughout the day. So what we've done, what we're creating to help meet these needs, we have a new solution that's on demand. It's always available. It's an AI-based virtual assistant. So it can answer calls, use really natural voice, and perform workflows. It can anticipate customer needs and answer questions. So what we have ready today, it does predictive call routing. So I see you were speaking with John earlier today. Would you like to talk to them? And it can also do service appointments. So it can schedule, modify, and cancel a service appointment. So I want to show you a sneak peek, as I mentioned, and take a look at the customer journey. So we start with a customer that's communicating with the dealership. And in this example, we have a customer that's going to be calling in, and really before the first ring of the phone, before the call rings, we actually pull data from the DMS, from CRM, from parts, service databases, and we correlate that data to identify the caller, try to anticipate what they're calling for, offer services or information, or route them to the right employee, like I mentioned. So if they have a service appointment already booked, it can anticipate, that they're calling to modify that appointment. Or if they don't, they have a vehicle in service that they're calling to get an update on that repair. So if they're calling to request a new service appointment, we initiate that workflow, and we have a demo for you. So let me show you that real fast.
Hey there, what can I do for you today? I can currently help you schedule, modify, and cancel service appointments.
Yeah, I'm looking to schedule a service appointment.
Am I speaking with Jason?
Yes, you are.
I see you've been chatting with John. Would you like me to connect you to them?
No, not right now, thanks.
Okay, great. Let's get started. Are you calling in for your 2021 Jeep Gladiator Mojave?
Yep, that's it.
What's going on with your vehicle?
Well, when I'm driving down the road, it seems like it's pulling to the left.
Got it. Let's get you in for alignment issues. What date or day of the week would you like?
Is September 24th available?
Do you prefer mornings or afternoons?
Mornings.
So I'm going to go ahead and pause that just because I know we're coming to the end of our time. But as you can see, we are able to, basically schedule that appointment for the customer just by them calling in and, walk through their appointment with them and get that scheduled. And that will actually integrate and put that appointment directly into CDK service. So, hopefully you noticed how natural the interaction was. It wasn't really robotic or anything, In addition to, scheduling an appointment, the things that we're working on is, is my car ready, special order, part status. We're integrating national recall statuses. And, hopefully this gives you an understanding of like what we've produced and, where we're heading next with this service. And again, if you have more questions, you want to learn more about this, I'd recommend watch the CDK Connect breakout session that's titled Protecting Data and Delivering the Future of the Customer Experience. So they go into this a lot more detail. So again, thank you and have a great day, everyone. And thanks to everyone who joined me today. Mary and Sean, thanks so much.